JB, I'm a little disappointed. I don't have any video clips to run for people today like I usually like to do. Those hype videos. Remember those things?
Yeah, those were kind of every week you could count on some type of, there's like the low keyboard notes and the little wistful images of the leaves falling and the lights turning on the field and the steam coming up off the ground. And yeah, I mean, this season, nothing though. I mean, other than our good buddy Big Tone putting out the 12th man videos for Utica, we've kind of a slim pickings as far as hype videos this season. I don't know what happened.
I think Morrisville should have put out a hype video to counter Tony Maldonado's hype video for Utica this week. That would have been the way to go about it, right?
Yeah, sure. Like the Revenge of the Black Turf or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's being played at Utica, though, so there won't be any black turf visible, I don't think, this weekend, although maybe they painted it overnight, who knows, and risk a lawsuit. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, I'm excited about this show because we have a little bit of a theme going on unintentionally. We have two big-time quarterbacks in two big-time games this weekend. Both of these quarterbacks were transfers from upper-level schools. And, their journeys, both of them, from what I can tell, just reading about them, has, a lot of interesting stuff attached to their, stories and journeys. Okay. And so I can't wait to hear from them on the show. And we'll see, hopefully through the magic of technology it works. But scheduled for the show is Drew Campanale from Randolph-Macon, the senior quarterback, and junior quarterback Kaleb Blaha from Wisconsin River Falls, who has a pretty big game this weekend. If you told me going into the season, if you told me going into the season that River Falls would be ranked above Wisconsin Whitewater heading into this game, I might have looked at you a little strange. Although we had a pretty good feeling about them coming into this, so. Yeah. It's an interesting weekend the way it's shaping up. Some conventional matchups like Union, Ithaca, some unconventional matchups of note. Not unconventional that they don't play each other, but that there's such importance on the line. Carleton, St. John's. We'll talk more about that as well. Yeah. Carleton, the undefeated team out of the two of them, versus a one-loss St. John's team that's struggling at times. Who would have predicted any of this stuff, really? So anyway, let's get this thing rolling. We've got a lot of stuff to do here, and we got to get this thing over with by around 10 a.m. for both our sakes today. So, folks, you're watching Season 16 of In the Huddle. I always laugh at your stuff. So this thing in there. You're the master of the hand signals here for our show. the hand model wannabe. Yes.
I'm sure the people who've been following the show for a while, they know that I play in a band on the weekends with some other guys, and so every once in a while I have to do the little hand, movements, singer kind of things, even though I'm just sort of this big, goofy guy. But, I try. I just love that music, man. It's very peppy. It gets me all like fired up, and, it's fun.
And the fact that I created it off of some other podcast safe music and I did dubstep on it, give me a little bit of credit. I did something right for once in my life.
You're the executive producer, Frank. I give you all the credit. That was who knew that dubstep would get it the job done? My kids have been fans since they were little, and I've always kind of had a love-hate relationship with dubstep. But I love that theme song. What are you gonna do?
Well, thanks for that. As we talked dubstep, we're losing you a little bit there on your end, but we're going to fight through this. We can still hear you. You still look good. And we have the Region 1 games of the week up here, and not a very deep list per se, but look at that WestCon game versus Framingham State. Framingham State, for as bad as their season began, they still have a chance to make some noise. Bridgewater State could drop a game still. Who knows what's going to happen here? And so, they have a chance if they can knock off Western Connecticut this weekend to re-input themselves into this whole discussion.
Yeah.
Westcott, on the other hand, is looking to, despite the fact they've lost to Bridgewater State already this season, remain with input in this whole thing because Bridgewater State still got some big games to play. So we got a very interesting MASCAC still to come here. It's not in the books yet.
Speaking of the MASCAC, Frank, I didn't realize this until I was driving to the airport last night to pick up a buddy of mine who's in town. But there was a Thursday night D3 game in the MASCAC between Mass Maritime and Worcester State, and I tuned in. It was 19-7. The Lancers. I was like, oh, it looks like Worcester State's got this in the bag. Must have been the JB curse, Frank, because I tweeted out, Lancers are up 19-7, looking to get their second win, and guess what happens? The Buccaneers come back and score 15 unanswered to win the game, 22-19. The JB curse is alive for Week 7, so everybody watch out. If I'm calling a game too early, then it's not going to pan out that way. I sometimes do it intentionally. This was completely unintentional. I was just sort of saying, hey, look, the Lancers are doing well here. It's end of third quarter. They're up by 12 points. Bucks wouldn't have it. They scored a couple touchdowns right in the fourth quarter, and boom, there you go.
Listen, as I said last week, lacrosse almost lost because of you last week. Michael Stack saved the day because
sorry, guys.
They were up 2 possessions, and next thing you know, it's a tie game. Michael Stack with a 51-yard field goal saves them from the JB curse. So, Michael Stack, if folks, has the antidote to this guy, apparently. But Western New England at Endicott, Endicott still got to win the CCC, and here's a big game with respect to that fact. And so, we'll see if they're able to do it. Obviously, they have a high-profile win against Hardin-Simmons, but you don't want to leave it in the hands of a committee. Remember when 9-1 Endicott a long time ago didn't get in, and that led to the breakup of the NEFC back when, which has now seemed to reform itself in some different version years later. Yeah, but anyway, you get the point. Endicott 9-1 would not be an automatic lock, although they would have a good chance at it in Pool C. So they can't drop one here. Western New England comes in after playing a reasonable game against Susquehanna earlier in the season that I attended. We'll see where we go with this ultimately. But also, we have some interesting MAC action in Region 1 with that Del Val game and FDU Florham and Kings versus Leb Val. So you kind of have the one, top-level scenario. And then the two teams, Kings has already played Del Val, but Kings could knock off Leb Val and really give Del Val a better chance at things to win the MAC still. Yep. And a couple of late games there, Wesleyan and Tufts, and Albright versus Eastern. You are picking Westcon. Go ahead.
Yeah, I am picking Westcon. Framingham is my game of the week. But I have to say, if you just like to watch D3 games just for the fun of it, I guarantee you this Albright Eastern game that's going to be at Franklin Field in Philly on Saturday night is going to be a really lively. I mean, when Eastern won their first game back, I think in week 2, I watched part of that game. The crowd was so into it. There was a lot of noise. There was all sorts. There's cheerleaders. There's a band. Like the whole thing. Like Eastern really puts on a fun show and broadcast. So if you're looking for a late game, you might want to check this one out because this is a game that Eastern can win, and I think the home crowd is going to really be into it.
Yeah, I mean, look, a new program and everything else, it's obviously a reason to just have some fun with it in the first year, no matter what. So you're absolutely right about that. And Albright, not a team that's had much success, so this is very winnable for Eastern when you get down to it too. Yep. Let's go to Region 2. Yeah, I was right the first time. I'm double picking again here, if you'll excuse me for doing this. But Union, Ithaca, Johns Hopkins, and Franklin Marshall. Look, we went through the Centennial conundrum the other day, and we're going to stick to it here, that we've been touting, and maybe over-touting, this idea of the championship game would be Muhlenberg versus Johns Hopkins. Well, We got some talking to do before that, folks, because Franklin and Marshall, Dickinson, Ursinus are all still out there and still looking to make some noise. And even if they don't win it, they want to be able to, justify their picks for bowl games, etc., down the line and everything else. So we have a conference that looks pretty good, and Franklin and Marshall could make some real noise and affect Pool A and Pool C in the process if they're able to win this game versus Johns Hopkins at home. Big game for sure, and Hopkins can't look past it. What else you see in Region 2?
Well, I think, even though it seems like Christopher Newport might be the team to beat in the NJAC, teams like Montclair and Rowan could make a case still. It's not a done deal. Sure, CNU beat Salisbury, the defending champs, so it gives them a leg up, but that game in New Jersey could change things a little bit if the Profs can pull another win out of their hat like they did at TCNJ with the amazing Hail Mary at the end. Montclair State, if they beat Salisbury, could put themselves into the conversation, and so it'll be interesting to watch and see how that plays out. Morrisville, Utica. Unless you live under a rock in D3 land, you know that game's conclusion last year was very controversial. There will be a little bit of a revenge factor, I'm sure, for the Mustangs in this one. And Utica is coming off a pretty tough loss. I don't know if they're more vulnerable or not. Maybe they'll get things back going here. But lots of good competitive games in some of the top conferences in the East region. What I'm realizing is kind of missing here, Frank, is I apparently I didn't think that any of the games in the pack were any good, because I don't see any of those games on there except for, Westminster and Case was probably the most interesting. But then again, we talked a little bit about how Allegheny gave W&J a good run for their money. Once again, Grove City seems like they've got this thing locked down, but they have to be careful and not let the Gators trip them up on the road. So that's another one to kind of keep an eye on. But I think Westminster Case will probably be the most competitive game. This could be an ECAC bowl elimination or positioning type of matchup. So we'll see how that goes.
I want to go back for a second here while we have some time. I think we're still, we may not get our first guest, unfortunately, the way things are playing out here. We'll see what happens. But I want to go back to that Rowan Hail Mary for a second. And I just called up our Crunch Time show to put it up here. And if I can, okay, so watch this play again. This was a little bit more than meets the eye, I think. Okay, so we've all seen, the bounce in the air and everything, the deflection to the bounce in the air. And you're going to see it again here from the other angle. Then we'll slow it down and zoom on this when we look at it. But here comes the deflection again. And I swear to you, I think it hits off a helmet as it goes back into the air at that point. You're going to take a look at it here and look at the very right side of your screen here. It looks like it doinked into the air and gets picked up there. What a play that was. And, I'm glad that they did get us some video for that play over there from Rowan and TCNJ. Let's go to Region 3. And Randolph-Macon Bridgewater. We're hoping to get Drew Campanale. We're still holding out hope here. We got a last second chance, last gasp attempt here. I think
talk about just Hail Marys. Yeah, talk about Hail Marys. Well, one of the things I didn't realize about the Yellow Jackets, Frank, was that they're currently on a 21-game win streak, and although I think they've risen as high as number 10 in some of the national polls, they seem to be, pun intended, flying under the radar a little bit. I know that Coach Cat, when we spoke to him last Friday, was touting this team and how good they look. And I think a lot of people nationally should start paying more attention to Randolph-Macon, because what they've built there is pretty impressive. Their last loss, I think, was to W&L back in the 21 season. They won that playoff game against Cortland last year. Before they lost in the second round, but Drew was injured, and so I kind of put an asterisk on that. But as far as regular season winning streaks go, they're right up there with a lot of the top teams in D3.
Agreed, and let's look at other games too here underneath. I'm highlighting Texas Lutheran to Hardin Simmons, because after that McMurray game last week, I'm curious as to what's going to happen with Hardin Simmons. A team like TLU may not be having the best of seasons necessarily, but this is a chance to step up here and slap Hardin Simmons when they're not looking. I don't know. I just want to see if Hardin Simmons can win a game by 30 points at this point, because if they can't, I don't know how that works for them in this season, especially after that Endicott loss and everything else. Hendrix at Birmingham Southern. It's an important game because Hendrix is still technically in the fold to take on Trinity and all that stuff. But, if Birmingham Southern helps here, knock Hendrix out of the mid-pack of this situation, then Trinity's job gets a little bit easier, and it comes down to Sewanee basically at that point. So we'll watch for that. Maryville and Huntingdon. If Huntingdon had won last week, this would be a pretty important game. It's always an important game. Let's not kid ourselves, but it's not a USA South major implication game. So at this point, we'll just go with that. We're going to move over here to Region 4 as we continue our discussion here. And we are looking here at Wabash versus Denison as a big game, and also Ohio Northern, John Carroll up there. You picked that one as the game of the week. I go down to Alma versus Hope. I think Alma needs a challenge here. Ohio Northern is their highlight win, it seems like, this season, and that's not necessarily something you can hang your hat on. They're putting up big numbers, Alma is, no doubt. But Hope, the way they handled Albion last week, I'm going to give a real chance for Hope. I'm giving hope, as I said in Crunch Time earlier in the week.
Yeah, no, and I think given how close that game against Albion was last weekend, this one could go a lot of different ways. I mean, Denison gave DePaul a good run for their money, so they hosting Wabash could knock them from the ranks of unbeaten. Ohio Northern, as you remember, Frank, was hanging around with Mount Union until about the fourth quarter when they took a while to sort of pull away from that one. John Carroll almost lost to Marietta, so that's another game that could be interesting. So if there's any potential for like upsets, I think Region 4 might be it.
We'll continue. Drew Campanale is in the background here. Just going to ask him to turn his device to landscape mode if he can, just so we get a full view of him. But we'll continue here to Region... Yeah. JB, you got it down. After all these years, you finally got it right. Oh, that's awesome. And here is Region 5. We'll talk about Region 6 later on when we get to it, but Region 5 is got only a few games to talk about, and Aurora versus St. Norbert is one. Again, we're looking to see who's going to challenge Aurora in this whole situation here. Augustana versus WashU is both our picks, and Ripon versus Chicago. Chicago just hasn't had the season I thought they would have, and that loss against the Blue Boys last week was definitely a slap for them. What are your thoughts in Region 5 as we transition here?
Well, we've been talking about how good Augustana has looked all season, and part of their bugaboo has not been able to get past WashU to sort of jump into that effectively third place slot in the CCIW. So this game is basically a Isthmus Bowl qualification or elimination game, depending on how you look at it. Just the way things have gone, and we'll have to wait and see if Wheaton gets a Pool C nod with the way things are shaking out with only 4 spots. Maybe they won't this year. So if with their head-to-head win over Augustana and potentially over WashU, then maybe they end up in the Isthmus Bowl. But this is an important game for both programs. Augustana wants to take that next step. WashU kind of wants to maintain the status quo and then maybe even challenge further up because they haven't played some of the top teams in the CCIW just yet. But that's going to be a really good one kicking off at 2 o'clock on Saturday.
Let's get Drew Campanale into the mix here. Drew, sorry, a little email problem there on our end, but great to have you joining us here on In the Huddle. And you look like you've been awake for a few minutes at least, so we're going to throw the tough questions at you now based on that. How's that sound?
Good, sounds good.
Well, first off, I want to congratulate you on your success at Randolph-Macon. It's been an incredible season so far this year and last year for you. And you have this Bridgewater team that's always seeming to, want to take down Randolph-Macon. It has had some success over the years. I mean, let's talk about this game coming up. What are you seeing in this game? Bridgewater on the road and everything else. What do you think is going to be the tone and tenor of this game?
Yeah, it's definitely a big game. The ODAC is a competitive conference. I mean, we understand every Saturday is going to be a war going in. So we're on a week 3 of conference play, and we understand every game's going to be tough, and we have to just take care of business within our team, and that hope we can just win out on Saturdays.
So, Drew, apparently your folks ran into the mayor over here at a game in upstate New York. I know you're a Massachusetts guy, New England guy, kind of like myself. How did tell me a little bit about the path you've traveled down to Virginia? Because I know you're a New England guy by background, but how did RMC get on your radar?
Yeah, so I started up in New Hampshire at Franklin Pierce for 3 years, and entered the transfer portal in about April of my junior year, and then ended up reaching out to RMC about June last summer, and kind of just took off, came down here for a visit, and I think I committed within the next few days. So it's been a great home for me. This place has been awesome. Coach Ruza has been the best man to help me out in this program and within my football career. So I'm very lucky to have been taken into this program.
Drew, I want to expand on that, though, because I've looked back at your last season at Franklin Pierce, and while your numbers were good, at least in efficiency-wise, the team struggled, and it's something that probably could knock the confidence of a lot of guys out there playing football. And you take that season, you decide to go elsewhere, and which you had every right to do, go to Randolph-Macon, and you have been an absolute stud out there as a quarterback. How did you keep your confidence level at a point where you didn't have the self-doubt that would start eating into your psyche about how you could play the position of quarterback and still win games the way you've been?
Yeah, I kind of think back to just having fun with football again, like going back to the basics, the fundamentals of just growing up and playing the game I love. And when I got down here, I felt like I just played a little more free and just enjoyed it a little more. And I think that's kind of contributed to my success down here.
Well, there's definitely something going on really well there in Virginia, because as I mentioned to Frank earlier, the Yellow Jackets are on a 21-game win streak. You went undefeated in your first regular season. You guys are 5-0 at this point. And you have really the meat of your schedule coming up, starting with Bridgewater. Same deal as last season. Has Coach talked to you a little bit about this sort of home stretch, the second half, and how important these upcoming games are?
Yeah, I think the team understands that these last 5 games, conference play, every single game is a playoff game for us. So we have to understand we have to win our conference to get a chance to play in late November. And I think our team understands that the better we play, that the better chance we're going to have to play in the playoffs and do what we do late November.
Drew, speaking about playoffs, though, you had a very interesting and problematic scenario occur in that round 1 game last season versus Cortland. You took a pretty bad injury in that game. And it was kind of like a double whammy scenario, because we thought whoever won that game would have a chance to go far, be it Cortland or you guys. Cortland gets knocked out, you get knocked out, and that probably helps Randolph-Macon get knocked out the next week in the playoffs. Take us back to that situation. How was your mood after that? Obviously, you were pretty injured up, so I'm going to assume it wasn't the best of moods, but I mean, how did that whole situation pan out for you, and what did you learn from that whole situation back then? We may have lost him here for a second here, but we'll get him back, or try to. We'll go to our shot here for a second as we try to get that connection back with him. And JB, you're a little choppy today too. So again, folks, we are aware of that, and we're trying to fix those choppy issues but we can hear you. That's the good thing. The important thing, people want to hear JB. And so as Drew gets back into the fold here, I remember that watching that playoff game. We watched it intently during the Bracket Blitz show last year between Cortland and Randolph-Macon, and that was a tough game for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that Del Val team may have lost that game to Randolph-Macon if the Yellow Jackets were at full strength. So, Campanale's definitely been a big part of their success, and hopefully we can get it back on. I'm wondering if I should drop off and log back in. So, it's sort of a hard reboot, but
I think you're going to be fine at the end of the day. But yeah, hopefully we get him back. Either way, we appreciate his time there. We'll get a shout out to the very least if we can get him back into the fold here. Also looking forward to Kaleb Blaha joining us in a little bit here in the show. So we may be also getting cross on our channel there, our call-in circuit, as we call it. And so we'll see what we're able to do here. But I believe we're trying to get our guest, Drew Campanale, back here. In the meantime, we were talking about Region 5. Let us bring up Region 6 here for a moment. I'll let you take that away if you like. The discussion centers itself around Whitewater River Falls here for a second.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big game for both teams. It's a chance for River Falls to really kind of put them on the map as far as the true number one contender, or the maybe even de facto WIAC champions. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, Whitewater, this could be theoretically an elimination game for them, although I still argue that an 8-2 Whitewater team with the resume that they have from the out of conference play could still get them in. We have seen in the past, although we've been told by prior committee heads that they do not like to take 3 teams from one conference. An exception could be made here, and there could be 3 WIAC teams that make it in. But Whitewater River Falls is the biggest game of the weekend for a number of reasons, but not maybe 1B is this Carleton St. John's game in the MIAC, where you have an undefeated Knights team traveling to the Johnnies, the defending champs, and we'll see if this Carleton team, which is Carleton is sort of like a NESCAC school, Frank. So the fact that they're having this much success out there in the Midwest is really impressive to me. They find ways to win games. They had a good run last year too, as you recall, but the second half of their season, kind of got away from them a little bit. So can they avoid that? Maybe with some of the fifth-year senior and other help, they can. We'll have to wait and see. The St. John's team doesn't seem to be as invincible as prior versions, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. La Crosse and Platteville is a really great WIAC game too. Bethel, Augsburg. The Augie seems to be a team that's on the rise, and Bethel is not the same powerhouse as the playoff Rosti team we saw last year. So that could be an interesting one as well. Puget Sound had a big win over George Fox late last weekend, and Whitworth is still one of the undefeated teams out on the West Coast. George Fox, as I just mentioned, is playing at Linfield. I think actually that game, Frank, got moved up an hour, so it's technically at 3:30 Eastern, not 4:30. But hey, we got our guy back. Thanks for hanging in with us, Drew. I'll let you guys take it away.
Drew, appreciate it. And as I was asking you about what you learned from the injury situation in the playoffs last year, and how it went for you overall through that process. Oh boy, we lost him again. There he is. So Drew, answer us real quick while you can.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough situation to be out of the last quarter of that game, and then, I mean, I was lucky to travel with the team down to Delaware Valley and be with the guys during that game. I mean, it's tough to watch and sit on the sideline when you played in 11 games before that with all your best friends on the team. So I mean, it was definitely hard to watch, and I think I can hope we get back there this year and I can play and contribute.
I would assume that's kind of contributing to some of the motivation here to continue this 21-game winning streak in the regular season for this team, for you especially, to have another chance at that. So I'm almost scared to see what you're capable of doing if you can make it through an entire playoff cycle, because as our friend Jim Catanzaro called out last week, you guys are a team to watch for sure. Before we lose you again, though, we want to give you an opportunity for any shout-outs to family, friends, or teammates as you get ready for this big game versus Bridgewater. Drew Campanale, the floor is yours for shout-outs.
Yeah, I just want to shout out the whole Randolph-Macon football family. I mean, the program built around high character guys that care about football, passion for football, and just the whole team, and let's just get a win on Saturday.
Drew, I want to give a shout out to your parents. Send them my best. It was great running into them at Union College, and they gave me. They said we don't give enough love to Randolph-Macon. And my response to them was, "We love the Drew Campanale quarterback down there, and we tried to get him on the show last year. We finally got you on the show, even with struggles. We got a great interview in with you, and we wish you the best of luck this week and in the future. You are a stand-up class guy and somebody with a lot of talent out there. So continued luck in what you're doing."
Thank you.
You got it. Drew Campanale.
All right, good luck, Drew.
Senior quarterback at Randolph-Macon. And glad that we were able to get that in there. So we'll be looking forward to Kaleb Blaha joining us in a little bit. JB, I think what we should do, just to do a quick reset here for ourselves, is move into the mode that I know you love so much, so very much. That mode is called our predictions. Why don't you take folks through what happened last week in case they missed our Crunch Time show briefly as I got us ready for this?
Well, yeah, we had a rough week because most of our picks were not right. I think I picked up a couple of games to basically tie the score because you had been leading by 2 pretty much since week 1. And so, yeah, we're going to try to get back on the positive side of 500. We'll see what happens.
It's not going to be easy. I'm looking at the games we have to pick here, and we're going to do it in a semi-speedy fashion here. We got 10 minutes on the clock today, so we're going to have to be a little more compact than we normally are, which, good luck. That thing's going to hit 0 and for like 5 minutes knowing us. But it's a batch of games that really are not cupcake games to pick. And so this could be pretty bad for us again. We could be embarrassed as heck overall. But I will tell you that we are both batting, according to my math here, 75% on the dot. 54 That's out of 72 games. No, it's not. I mean, I was trending toward 80, so I did take a ding on this. Yeah. So
last season, I think you finished 71-ish, and I was like 72 or 3-ish%. So we're doing better than last year so far.
I love your optimism in life. That's good. But our trajectory is definitely in the wrong direction. Okay, that's the problem here. So, yeah, I think I begin this week. So here we go. The MASCAC, WestCon at Framingham State. This is tough because, like I said, Framingham State looked so bad at times in the beginning of the season. Tom Kelly would be the first one to tell you that, their head coach. But, at home versus WestCon, I'm going to pick the home team here. And Coach Kelly's probably going to kill me for doing this, but I'm going to say Framingham State wins the game 31-24 against a WestCon team is going to be very good in this game. There's no doubt, but I think Framingham State may have gotten it together right now.
Maybe. Well, I'm a Connecticut guy, so I'm going to go with the boys from Danbury. I think Blasky, is the name of their fifth-year running back. It might have a big game. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think it's going to take a lot for the Wolves to win this one on the road. But let's say they hang around and let's say 42-38. It's going to be a high-scoring game, I think.
Kings at Lev Val. Go ahead.
And this is tough because we really thought that Kings looked special going into that Del Val game, and then they couldn't really do much. Lev Val has found ways to keep winning games and at home. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Lev Val. Just I don't know. I want to pick the Monarchs, but the last time I thought I was going to, they just didn't show up for me. So I'll take the home team here. 17-13, lower scoring game.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I think we are going to go Lev Val, both of us. The home team. I'm just going to base it on home team at this point. Final score, 27-20 in favor of Lev Val. I'll start this one. Oh, yeah, I'm starting this one. Union at Ithaca. I'm not calling for the upset, which may be the kiss of death for Ithaca here. But I'm going to say that Ithaca has learned a lot over their games versus Johns Hopkins and RPI especially. And that Endicott game in between. I shouldn't forget about that one. I think they know how to win close games. This will be a close game. 21-17, Ithaca beats Union.
Yeah, I'm the thing that's just in the back of my head are three initials, AJW. Something about this Wingfield guy. He's a fighter. He's a winner, and I think that would be the difference. I mean, Donovan for Union, their QB is this big, strong, athletic guy. He'll definitely score some points against this defense. But I think when it comes down to these little close call games, the legs of Winfield might be the difference. So I'll take the Bombers to win a close call, 24-21.
But I do have to get you to say Donovan's last name, Piccatti.
Piccatti. Hey, okay, Piccatti, got it.
Hopkins at F&M. Do you see any chance here for the upset?
No, I think Hops, as we said in our Crunch Time show this week, they might be the cream of the crop in Region 2. And so even though the Dips will give them a good run for their money, I'll take the Blue Jays to kind of pull away late, say 35-17.
I'm going to say it's going to be Johns Hopkins early and often in this game. I do think that they're going to roll in this one. I don't think they're looking past anybody. I mean, they shouldn't. If they're going to look past anybody, they're in trouble. I'm going to say by the final score of 37-20 in this game. Texas Lutheran at Hardin-Simmons. I think Hardin-Simmons wins this game, but again, it may not be easy. And this is going to be a little bit scary, I think, for them. They'll win 24-20, but it may take another late situation for that to happen.
Yeah, I think being at home might help. Maybe they'll stick to the running game a little bit. So I'll take the Cowboys 31-20.
And just letting our friends know, UWRF, we do not see them. They'll need to reconnect. I think they think they're connected to us. So, hey, at least they're trying. Our guest, yeah, it is one of those things. If we get both interviews, that's all that matters at the end of the day in this show. You know, success is what we go after here. Randolph-Macon at Bridgewater. Go for it.
All right. Well, like we've been talking about this 21-game win streak, I think Randolph-Macon is kind of on a mission here with a quarterback like Campanale. I think although this could be a lower scoring game early on, Jackets pull away late, 35-21.
Yeah, I just don't see Bridgewater having the guns to do this. Drew Campanale is a tremendous quarterback, and I'm really happy for him. I just want to say at this point, we kind of didn't get a chance to say it during what happened there, but yeah, the fact he got a second chance per se in his college career to prove to everybody he is the guy, he is the man with respect to QBing and leadership on a football field. I'm so thrilled for him.
Let's get this guy,
I know his family is.
Let's get this guy on a Gallardi ballot, man. I don't see why he can't compete with the rest of the country there. I mean, impressive guy.
Absolutely. Randolph-Macon wins this game 37-20. Next up, Alma at Hope. I'm calling for the upset in this game. I think Hope, the way they handle Albion, will keep this score closer, lower than what we've seen Alma be able to do recently. As a result, I'm going to give Hope a narrow win, 21-20.
Yeah, well, they are the home team, and I like their school colors, but my McDougal blood says I have to go with the Scots. So I'm gonna go with Alma here, and they've been putting up a lot of points, and I think Hope will keep it interesting, but too much Scotties. You know something about Scotties. I'll say they win 42-27.
You want to know a little story? The Balsa Spa Scotties aren't named after really a dog at all, but they were named after William Scott, the longtime head coach back when, and they became the Scotties as a result of it. So a little bit of trivia you didn't know that I had to learn as mayor, basically. Ohio Northern at John Carroll, an OAC matchup here. John Carroll, that is, didn't look as strong as one would hope, and our next guest is in the wings just so they know that we can see them. John Carroll had that struggle against Marietta. Do you think it'll happen again, I guess is the question here.
Not at home. I think the Blue Streaks maybe just had one of those, one of those road games. It might have been that gray turf. It's something about the different colored turf makes weird things happen. Come on. I think the Blue Streaks will bounce back. It'll be a close game, but 21-14 JCU.
Yeah, Jeff Bierman, we know him well enough to know that he got under his guy's skin after that game and probably told them everything wrong about their football game and then some last week. John Carroll bounces back big time in this one to the tune of 34-17 in favor of John Carroll. Augustana at Wash U. I just think Augustana's got too much momentum right now in general, and Wash U's having a good season for sure, but Augustana just seems to be able to put up points in droves. And so I'm going to give Augustana the road win here by the final score of 30-20.
Yeah, the fact that it's a home game for Wash U gives me a little bit of pause. And they've had Augustana's number, but I want to get on this Vikings bandwagon. The way they played Wheaton and competed so hard with them tells me that they're a different team this year. So I think, I'll go with the road team with an upset 31-28.
Carlton. Yeah, thank you. Carlton at St. John's. Again, the undefeated Carlton team versus the one-loss St. John's team. Who would have ever saw that halfway into their win-loss season or schedule season here?
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody would have, but I think it might have happened last year too, for all I know. But St. John's at home, that Johnny magic, I don't know, man. It's something in the water or whatever there in Minnesota. So I'll take the home team. It'll be a close game, 27-21, but I'll go with the Johnny since they're at home.
Yeah, I was going to try to get to that game, like I said, and if airfares were a little bit more cooperative, I would have gotten out there because I know Pat Coleman will be at the River Falls Whitewater game, so we try not to double cover during the season. So it won't be happening, but at the same time, someday I'll get out to St. John's to see a game out there for sure. St. John's wins this game 41-27. I think they will put up points, but you know what? St. John's better be careful the way they've been playing. Yeah. Kind of unfair to do this right now. Whitewater at River Falls. We have to predict it before the guest comes on. So I have to start this. Caleb's smiling in the background. I can see it right now and laughing now at us on this.
Well, it's funny because my first question that I had, my first question I was going to ask him was going to basically be like, how does it feel to be the favorite? I mean, most people, when they saw this game, would have picked Whitewater to be the favorite, but actually no. River Falls, undefeated, higher ranked, home team. They're not the underdogs in this game, in my opinion. The Warhawks are. And so even though it's your turn, I'm going to say the Falcons are going to win this game. And it's going to be a tough battle, but this is their year. And so I think it's going to come down to maybe a field goal like we saw, because we know that the Warhawks, they fight till the bitter end. But I think the Falcons are going to pull this one off and win it 35-28.
Yeah, thanks for stealing my thunder there, kid. I'm going to go the same way. I'm going to pick River Falls. We've been riding this horse all the way to this point. Yes. Sorry, Caleb, you may want to run now. But here we go. River Falls is a team that you and I basically had centered on earlier in this season. People were kind of throwing shade at us for this whole thing, and we said, look at who they've got back. My goodness. They've got basically their entire starting lineup back from last year in its entirety, just about. And you can't look at a Wisconsin team of any level and think that that's not going to be in effect. And so Whitewater has had their ups and downs for sure, and another down last week versus La Crosse. I just see it going River Falls' way here by the final score of look. Everybody likes to score between these two teams 41-34. No, okay. No, 41-34. 41-34. So Caleb, how does it feel to be the favorite in this game? I'll steal JB's question now that he just stole my thunder on this thing.
Can you hear me?
You certainly can.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we don't feel like we're the favorites. We're looking at it just like any other game. I mean, we know how good Whitewater is. Um, we know they're good, even better this year. They beat us last year, so we're taking it as any other game.
Well, we should do the official intro here real quickly. Kaleb Blaha, junior quarterback, Wisconsin River Falls, joining us here on In the Huddle and getting ready for the matchup versus number 7 Whitewater. As you can see at 1 o'clock Central Time Saturday, it's going to be the highlight game that everybody's going to be basically tuning into, including myself, including JB tomorrow. Let me just, if I may for 1 second, JB, just say, how does it feel to have the focus and the spotlight, though, on this team? Because a couple of years ago, nobody would talk about River Falls. This is new. I mean, it was Oshkosh, it was Whitewater. It wasn't you guys. Lacrosse was getting into the mix. Now River Falls is currently the dog to take down if anybody's going to do things in a WEAC. Here you are. How's this feel?
I mean, it feels good being 5-0 and being on top, but we feel like we still have a lot to prove, and we haven't reached our goals yet. So we're just taking one game at a time, and we still got a lot to go.
Kaleb, one of the things that I remember about River Falls from last season, other than the fact you guys won a really fantastic Isthmus Bowl game and a really cool trophy, you guys had a lot of close calls. You lost to St. John's by 3. You beat Oshkosh by 3. You had a close loss to Platteville and Whitewater and Lacrosse. You guys were like right there. What do you think it's been this season that has helped you trying to take that next step? You're winning games, not I think. They're not even, so far, they haven't been really close. You guys have been beating teams pretty soundly, but you're getting into the meat of your schedule now. You've got 5 games back to back to back and kind of a pretty aggressive gauntlet. What did last season teach you guys kind of going into this year, and how can you jump off of that?
I mean, yeah, like you said, we had a lot of tough losses last year, and I think it was just really a good experience for our team. Just be in those close games, like see how it feels to lose, and like that we're going to need to work a little bit harder to get those wins. And yeah.
Kaleb, I kind of look back to your history since high school, and it's been an interesting journey for you, it seems like. You were going to be a wide receiver, it looked like, at Winona State. So you were going upper division. And COVID happens right after all that, pretty much, because as of February 2020, you're still being touted and making your decision, everything else from what I could see. And then eventually you make the decision to transfer over to Wisconsin River Falls. Take us through that journey, if you can. Why wide receiver? Why back to quarterback, essentially? And why did you make the move from Winona State to River Falls when it came down to it?
Yeah, so I went to Winona for wide receiver right out of high school, mainly just because I wanted to play at the highest level I could to see where that could take me. And then just Winona wasn't the right fit for me. And then I got recruited here out of high school to River Falls. And I really just liked Walker. I liked the coaching staff. I liked the culture here. So when I knew I wanted to switch out of Winona, I knew this is the place I wanted to go.
So for the people tuning in on Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 Central, what do you think is the sort of the River Falls game day experience? I mean, obviously WEAC teams are used to playing in front of 5-figure size crowds. I imagine it'll be a big turnout as well. But what's kind of like game day like for you guys out there in Wisconsin?
I mean, we got a pretty good tailgating setup here before the game, and then yeah, we should have a big crowd here at the game, and it should be a fun game. A lot of people, be a tight battle.
Let's go back to something we were talking about in our prediction section. The fact that you have so many players back, and everybody bought into this team to this year, and now, I mean, what is the limit of this team as far as you guys are concerned in the locker room? What are the goals right now? And what is the limit of this team in terms of upside? Because, again, bowl games are nice and whatnot, but I mean, what is this next step while you guys are all still together? Because obviously some people will have to graduate off after this go around with this. What is the upside? What is the goal for you guys?
Yeah, I think there really is no limit for this team. I mean, we got really big goals. We want to win our conference. We want to make it to playoffs. We want to win games in playoffs. We want to win the national championship, and we really believe we can do it. But, I mean, we're just taking it one game at a time still.
Yeah, I bet. Well, I mean, there's still this 5-game regular season schedule with this big one this weekend, and it's an interesting kind of comparison contrast, in my opinion. You have one team that's, I think, the number one rushing offense in your conference, and then for you as a quarterback, you must be having fun throwing the ball because I think you're the number one ranked passing offense. Tell us a little bit about this wide receiving core and why it's so much fun to be you on game day.
Oh, yeah, no. Our receivers, they're incredible. I mean, they make plays. They make my job real easy. They get open. I get them the ball. They make me look good. And, yeah, I got the easy job getting them the ball.
Well, remember, he was a wide receiver at Winona State, or potentially wide receiver there. So who knows? They could draw up a play where he goes out into coverage and tries to catch a pass, JB. I'm not going to make him tell us whether or not that's in the playbook, but there's that possibility he can catch the ball. We know this for a fact, so we'll see how that goes. Kaleb, it's great to have the Falcons kind of on center stage with us here. Like I said, we kind of focused on you guys earlier on in our preseason discussions, and you're delivering, and we appreciate that because you make us look good from time to time. We do a great job of not making ourselves look good, trust me in that. But, we want to give you an opportunity here for shout-outs to any family, friends, teammates, etc. Take your time with it. It's all yours, and thanks to the Falcons for helping put this thing together before such a big game. The stage is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I just shout out the coaches. I mean, they really deserve these wins. I don't see anyone else working as hard as them. I think they really earned it. And, I mean, the players on the team, everybody works hard. Nobody's better than anybody else. We all put in the work each and every day.
Any family shout-outs? Because, I don't want you to go home and, they'd be like, wait a minute, you didn't say hi to us, Kaleb.
No, I'll just keep it focused on football.
This guy is locked in. Holy cow.
Yep.
Kaleb.
I have one last question, Frank, because I can't help it, because Kaleb, as a guy who depends on your offensive line, is there a certain place in River Falls where the big guys go to eat like a huge meal? If they're going to eat like 100 pizza. I mean, I don't know. Pizza is really the Wisconsin thing, but what is sort of like the main cuisine up there, so that when you guys win a big game, the linemen go to where?
I mean, we don't got nowhere special where we go out. We like to go out and eat, but our team does enjoy some Quick Trip, some chicken sandwiches from Quick Trip. So
there it is.
I roll with that. I absolutely roll with that. Wawa and Quick Trip sandwiches are way underrated. I love the idea. So, Kaleb, there was a rumor you might be nervous or not want to do this interview or something like that. You jumped right in and said, no, I want to do this interview. You did a great job. So thanks again to you, to everybody at River Falls. And I'm really excited to watch this game. Best of luck to you. We're not picking sides. Obviously, we made our prediction, but we don't pick sides. We just want to see a great game and everybody walk away healthy at the end of this game. So good luck to you, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Kaleb Blaha.
Yes.
From
Special shout out to Trent Jackson, their assistant athletic director for communications, for helping us pull that together. Coach Walker, and everyone up at River Falls for not skewering me when I called them the Riverhawks in the preseason show. I know you guys are the Falcons. Sometimes things are in my brain and they come out my mouth, and they're not connected. So anyway, we know about the Falcons, and we're looking forward to seeing a great game on Saturday.
You know what else you know about? How to watch D3 action on a weekend like this. And as always, we go to JB to see how should you watch the D3 action this weekend. Take it away.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's going to be some interesting noon kickoffs in Region 1, kind of getting us started. I mean, we talked already a little bit about the WestCon Framingham State game and the MASCAC. We've got a couple of good MAC games between Del Val and FDU Florham, Kings and Leadville. Even Western New England Endicott could be interesting to tune in. Once 1 o'clock rolls around, you're probably going to want to head over to see the big Union Ithaca game, Hopkins Franklin and Marshall. We got some NJAC games, Empire 8, some PAC games. I think Christopher Newport versus Rowan at 2 o'clock is going to be worth tuning into. But also at 2 o'clock, we got Randolph-Macon versus Bridgewater, and we've got Texas Lutheran Hardin Simmons. And as it gets later, once again at 2 and out in Region 4, Ohio Northern, John Carroll, DePaul, Worcester, Alma versus Hope, all very solid games. Augustana, Wash U, and then the big game that everyone's going to be tuning in for at 2 is the Whitewater River Falls matchup. I mean, that's going to have the nation's attention. Carleton versus St. John's is a nice sort of undercard at that time slot, along with some of the Region 4 OAC games. Bethel versus Augsburg could be interesting potentially, and then as it gets later in the day, 3:30, George Fox at Linfield is kicking off an hour earlier than the original scheduled time. Puget Sound Whitworth is at 4. And then for you diehards, there is a 7 o'clock kickoff for Albright Eastern. I think Wesleyan's going to Tufts at 6:30 for a Region 1 night game. And then on the West Coast, we have a couple of Chapman versus Pomona Pitzer and Cal Lutheran versus Redlands, some old school SCIAC 10 o'clock D3 after dark games. So it should be a nice long day of D3 football. And when it's all said and done, we'll be back to recap it in our Week 7 Crunch Time show.
So I want to add one thing back off mute. I'm not traveling this weekend. I've got mirror duty to do here. However, one of the factors was tickets to go see St. John's, as I said, were high, and everything else, and the time and everything else that will go into it. That said, there are 3 key games that we kind of have focused on in this show, and here's what's going to happen. We've got Union Ithaca, we've got River Falls and Wisconsin Whitewater, and we have St. John's and Carleton, excuse me. Actually, and then the 4th game, I should say, is Bridgewater, Randolph-Macon. So we have 4 games. Yep. So to the 4 winners, I'm going to be donating $50 to each winning school's general scholarship fund based on the team that wins the game this weekend. So just to put my money where my mouth is, because it's not all about the money. You're going to go in on that?
Yeah, I will match your contribution, Mayor.
So basically $100 to each of the winners of those 4 games. Is that what we're saying here? Is that where we're going with this? Total? Yep. Okay. Yep. So the winning schools will have $100 sent to their general scholarship funds instead of us being on the road this weekend. And we're going to still give you coverage. We're still going to be watching these games, giving you some tweets and focus, and taking some video off, and showing it to you. Yeah, we're pretty good at that stuff, I guess, from time to time. He is actually on Saturdays. But that's how we're going to handle this. So we're up in the ante, per se. This isn't like gambling or anything like that. This is just straight up winning teams of games we would have possibly gone to. $100 in general scholarship funds for the winning teams, those 4 games in particular. So there you go. A little bit of a special thing we're going to do here, and hopefully it works well. Hopefully they are good games, and we are hoping to be entertained by them for sure, as you are, as we head into Week 7 of the D3 football season. Until we see you on Twitter this weekend and see you back in Crunch Time early next week or middle next week or whatever the heck it ends up being, we will say have a great weekend, folks. Thanks for joining us.